Hey fellow patriots, Bravo Echo here from Hope for Survival. I wanted to drop a quick podcast to talk to you about the monthly threat matrix that you should consider putting together and continuing to do monthly at a minimum. Update is needed throughout the month if global, national, or local indicators change, potential threats to you, which you should then address in your plans. I know for many people, preparedness is simply putting back food, water, and addressing some security and firearms and things of that nature. But there's a lot of other working tools that you should consider to augment those plans. As I've covered before and talked about in different platforms, when you build a plan, what are you planning for? Right? So, okay, so I'm planning to go on vacation. So, gotta have the money, gotta have the trip, gotta have tickets if I'm going to go by plane, or, fuel money if I'm going by car. All these things are um, resources that you need to make your plan successful. So when building preparedness plans, you need to consider all the different facets: route plans, communication plans, maybe your home evacuation plans. You need to look at global, national, and 5 mile radius local community um, indicators. They can be man-made, natural type threats, or just things that change around you. Something as simple as if your plan is, if X happens, we're going to bug out and go 30 miles up in the woods to stay with a family member or friend. What if you have to cross 3 bridges, right? What if one of those bridges is under construction right now and they're down to 1 lane, which is the case in my area if I want to go at 1 hour south to Waynesville, North Carolina, to visit some Hope for Survival patriots and stop by and visit one of my favorite stores or grab lunch with some folks. If I set up a time for 1 o'clock and it's normally an hour and 15 minutes to drive it, I now know for the next 6 months there's a bridge that is being repaired. This is going to impact my timeline. So in order for my plan to be successful, I got to adjust that plan, right? Because of traffic delays. Or what if I was bugging out from my location in that direction, and I hit a traffic stop or traffic jam that's going to add an hour to 2 hours onto my my route. If my family communication plan or PACE plan says that I'll be there in 1 hour and 30 minutes, and in 2.5 hours I'm not there yet because of the bridge delay, it's going to create a problem within that plan. But if I know about it in advance, which is from doing homework and getting information from people, taking note of things that could change your plan, you need to adjust your plan to those potential changes or threats. So that's just one example. If you're bugging out and you've got a timeline that other people are mobile and you're all going to get to a destination or your rally point at a certain time, if one of the families is delayed by an hour more because of a bridge repair or for any other potential reason, and they don't show up in the planned time frame, then what are you going to do, right? What if they're in a location where there's no cell phone signal? If they don't have a satellite phone and you're out of range of using a ham radio or a CB radio and the cell phone won't work, if you did not know that that bridge was under repair or for some other reason that's going to delay or stop you, you're going to have folks on the other end wondering and worrying about your safety. And then they're going to have to decide if they're going to send a team looking for you, right? Especially if you're a parent and it's your children who are mobile to get to you. If something delays them or stops them and they don't make it on time and you can't get a hold of them, it creates a lot of stress for parents and families. So the same would go during increased times. Folks would be worrying and wondering. So this is what makes it so important to do your proper planning, um, and preparing that plan and adjusting it to the potentials of new information that could change what was originally documented. So you need to take all those into consideration when you're doing these things. I covered a little bit more in the um, upcoming information where I talk about the threat matrix, the areas, and why, the question why. You need to do your risk analysis to them. So without further ado, I'll move into talking about the threat matrix. And thanks for tuning in. Again, if you are not subscribed to the Hope for Survival YouTube channel, please hit subscribe. And if you like the information, hit like. It lets me know that the information was of value to you. And leave a comment if you have questions. And I left my information. We'll leave it at the end of this podcast. So let's move along. Take notes. If you need to, watch it over again. And again, if you have questions, you can get a hold of me with the information at the end. But again, I can't encourage you enough to put together your own threat matrix for your specific location and for your specific plans. So let's move along into the threat matrix discussion. Okay, so when we start to fill out our threat matrix and break it down, um, I have mine set up in two slides. Basically, this slide and the next slide. And the next slide will be more detailed to your specific area and to ongoing events for the month. Um, you should be doing this at a minimum at the start of each month. And then if threats and indicators increase or change during the month, you can go in and adjust it. The whole point of this is to keep you abreast of things that are going on and taking place around you and around the nation and around the globe. Okay, remember, your primary focus should be your 5-mile range in your local community and your local town and surrounding area of things that could happen globally, nationally, or in your local area that could impact your way of life and your plans. Okay, so when you're building plans, the first question is, what are you planning for? Whether it's a food plan, your security plan, your family communication plan, your PACE plan, things that could impact those plans, and what are you planning for, and how do you plan to mitigate threats that you've identified, right? If you can't mitigate them, depending on the severity of the threat, you can opt to ignore that threat. But you need to at least address what that potential threat would be and the severity of it or likelihood of it happening, right? So this is all done through the risk analysis process. What is it you're planning to do? Say, for example, your secondary water source is 100 yards from your home. Okay, so you've identified that you have a water source as a backup that's 100 yards from your home. What is your plan to get to that water source and get that water back? Do you plan on carrying it at 8 pounds per gallon? Do you have a method that you can roll it? Do you have an ATV or lawnmower or something that you can pull a trailer? What is the plan? What if there is a threat to individuals who's going to get that water? What is your plan around that threat? So these are things to look at. Current day, some areas are seeing shortages of food on the shelves. Have you mitigated that threat of a food shortage through um, stocking food that will offset the shortages and the increase in price on the item that you may need? So the mitigation would be, I need something as simple as a bottle of ketchup, right? If you can't go in the store and buy it because of increased prices or unavailability, you could go into your food stock and pull the bottle of ketchup out, just mark it down so when the time comes when available, you can restock it. So this is just an example, okay? Fuel, high fuel cost. If you have a fuel supply at your property, you can offset high prices and unavailability by simply going and getting fuel that you already have on hand. So on here you see three circles. You see the global level event, and some examples would be wars, food shortage, pandemics, economic crash, or something as severe as an EMP. National level events could be a civil war, government or economic collapse, riots, anarchy, pandemic, unemployment, gang problems nationally, like we experienced in the summer of 2020, food shortage, and other global events that impact nationally. And then you go down to your 5 mile area. Examples could be unemployment, food shortage, a car accident with injuries that could impact you, fire, weather, home invasion, gangs, local riots, protests, anarchy, plus all of the national and global events that could be a cause to affect you at your local level. So this is just kind of a outside surface. Then we go to the more specific um, slide, and I update this for me personally. I update this at a minimum monthly, normally at the start of each month. So, like for example, now on the global level, uh, we're seeing global lockdowns for unvaccinated personnel in Australia. Austria is coming in Germany, and you'll probably see other European countries following suit. And something in this area you may want to pay attention to nationally is oftentimes trends and actions that take place around Europe. Oftentimes you'll start seeing if there's going to be any impact in the United States, you'll start seeing them around 30 days. So rumblings of more restrictions on individuals who are unvaccinated. EMP threat to U.S. from China, North Korea as a possibility. Increase for potential war. Things that are going on right now, there's roughly 60,000 to 100,000 Russian troops on the border of Ukraine, with the ongoing issue going on between Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, and Poland. And also events that are going on in Syria, between Turkey and Syria, and between China and Taiwan, that could impact the United States if they opt to engage militarily. Global economic monetary crash to achieve a digital currency. When you look at the massive debt that the United States is carrying, as well as other
countries, there's no likelihood that these debts can ever be paid off. So what will the result be? And then the ongoing threats from hackers to the U.S. grid, U.S. Banking systems, U.S. fuel lines flowing fuel into through our ports. These are things to keep your eye on. On the national level, more COVID-19 restrictions and requirements, the ongoing requirement for booster shots. Folks, will they tire of this, or will they start revolting? Government instability impacts of COVID-19 restrictions, higher taxes, unemployment, and job losses, external attack or invasion. In my lifetime, the United States is probably at its weakest point today than at any time I can remember, other than maybe the late 1970s. Economic monetary system crash or currency change to a digital format, how would that impact you? And it will impact everyone if and when it happens. Supply system interruptions, as Ronald Reagan used to state, we're 9 meals from starvation, basically 3 days. What drives that? Because of our current supply and demand, and everything now is computer based. When you check out at a register, they scan it into a digital system that feeds information back to corporate and then to the supplier to put those supplies on the next shipment going in. If the resources are not available on the other end, if there's transportation problems, you can see ships backed up at the ports. Goods are not getting in to be downloaded, to be loaded to trucks, to be moved. So there's all kind of issues. Parts for tractor trailers are showing shortages. Fuel costs, shortage of drivers. So there's all kind of issues that could impact our supply and demand system. We're also going into winter weather right now. How will all these ongoing issues potentially impact us as a nation when people already prior to these issues this year, oftentimes in the winter months when the heating cost goes up, folks are having to choose between heat, food, and medicinal needs that they have to have. With the escalating cost of fuels for heating and electricity, it's going to be harder for our citizens to meet the needs that they have to not freeze to death and to still eat and to have medicines as required. So these all play a role amongst one another. Local level, 5-mile radius, looking at the global and national level, how will they impact you, cause and effect? The global and national reasons are the cause. The effects is what will you feel at your local level. At the top, I have winter weather impacts, higher heating bills, inflation, fuel, food, which I discussed, economic unemployment, immigration influx into the areas, in your surrounding areas. Food availability for unemployed, poor, homeless, and 18-wheelers. Stop supplying the food, fuel, medicinal needs to your community. Civil disorder from food, job shortages, COVID-19 restrictions, and lockdowns. How will this impact you and your plans and even your community? You may be good to go, but if you've got folks in your community who never started preparing and putting items aside for a rainy day, these areas that I'm discussing could impact them, which could impact your community. External threats enter the community area, gangs, rioters, anarchists, and unemployed. When people are cold and freezing and they're looking for a place that's warm and they're looking for food, everyone's fair game. Good people will do crazy things to get food to feed their children. So these are things you need to give thought to. 2022, I think, will bring much of the same, but probably at an increased rate, unless something changes, and right now it doesn't appear anything's going to change. We're going to see higher taxes, um, higher fuel costs, and it still remains a question as to food availability. All indicators right now are that the food shortages are going to continue and increase going forward. So these are things that you need to give thought to. You need to build into your plans. Don't just keep them in your head as them being problems. You need to see how they're going to apply to your life, and that is by looking at your plans. Okay, as I've noted numerous times in the Patriot Express newsletter weekly on the website, Hope for Survival, in training classes and their Thursday night Zoom groups. One of the biggest deficiencies I find when I'm out reviewing families' preparedness packages is the majority of the places that I visit, the families do not have any plans in writing. So it's something, even if you do it by hand, write it out, you need to have a plan in writing. So if something happens to you and it's all stored in your head, there's other individuals who can step in and continue moving things forward in your home or in your community. So hopefully this information, this is kind of quick and rough, but hopefully this information will give you enough to get you started so that you can start building your own monthly threat matrix to help you along. If you have any questions, you can feel free to email me at preparedness101@protonmail.com. You can visit the website at hopeforsurvival.com to get more information. I have videos here on YouTube and on odyssey.com. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. If you like the information, hit like and feel free to leave a comment. And we can communicate to answer your questions and help you along the way. So until next time, stay safe, stay focused, keep the faith, and the better prepared you are, the better chances you have of coming out of this on the other end. So be blessed. Bravo Echo out.